Hey, so in this video we're going to go over super modded Death Rail World and what the settings are that we use. To me, the super modded Death Rail World comes down to a handful of mods, really. There's a bunch, but the ones that it ultimately comes down to is bioindustries, cargo ships, natural evolution enemies, rampant, and rampant arsenal. Those really are the core of what makes super modded Death Rail World what it is. Everything else is just kind of extra, uh, but I'll go into the settings that we use for the super modded Death Rail World. Let's see, we do new game here, and we paste in the code. So here we go. Here's our settings in the world we used. We use the world that have checkpoints 1, 2, and 3. You kind of start here. It's hard to work your way out because it's so intense, but here are the settings we use. Frequency, everything's at 50. Size, everything's at 100. Richness is 150, and everything besides iron and copper is at 200. Terrain is, the code. Enemy bases, the frequency is 150% at maximum size. 2-1 expansion distance. And the evolution time factor is at 200, destroy factor 200, pollution factor 12. I feel like anything that adds up to 212 between time factor and pollution will give you a good setting. But the more time factor you have on that scale, the harder it is, because at least when you are pollution-based evolution, you can kind of minimize or reduce your pollution output. However, you can't stop time, so it's more difficult the more you sway towards time factor between those two. But yeah, and then just for our world, we only tweaked a couple things. One was for cargo ships, we had to check on this because it was impossible to get oil unless we did that. So make sure you check on this if you have cargo ships mod. And natural evolution enemies, we didn't tweak anything besides the difficulty setting. We bumped it up from 1 to 2. And then for rampant, the unit spawners were just so OP that we reduced the one setting that cuts in. I don't even know if this worked, but we tried to cut in half the amount of enemies a unit spawner can have spawned at one time. And they still are very, very, very difficult. But yeah, so I guess I'll just show the world real quick. So you can see the enemy prevention, or the enemy, what the enemy spawning looks like. Let's see, tab. That's the mission control mod. But you'll get a huge base here and a huge base down here. Actually, it's better off if I just show you the world that we already have, which is Wakanda. This is our super modded Death Rail world and what it looks like, so you can kind of get a visual of what yours will probably look like. So here's the spawn area, right here's the donut. Here's choke point 1, 2, and 3. Here's the base, and you start out with like copper, coal, and iron, and stone up here. And outside of that, you have to really make it far, but the bases are so huge, and you might think that there's big enough gaps to sneak by, but they actually do the rampant mod to constantly send enemies at you. So even if like this giant area has no enemy bases, if you were to go over here, eventually some of these guys would send squads after to get you. So, but yeah, I'll be doing playthroughs, hopefully some recorded edits of our play sessions in this world. But yeah, that's super modded Death Rail World. Thanks.